All my past videos are going to be coming together in this one in what I believe is going to be probably my most important video as far as demonstrating what I'm understanding from antiquity, or at least what I'm seeing. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate a technique for interpreting the verses, which is going to lead us to understand that Jesus is actually teaching the same thing that Buddha or Lao Tzu or other gurus from around the world are teaching, nested in the material. The outer shell, the cryptic verbiage, is there for us to figure it out or to guide a population, but there's something nested in it. Jesus' verses are all cryptic, and in this video, I'm going to be making an effort to demonstrate that. My name is Dan Paulson, and welcome to the video. In fact, what does this sound like? I've got it at the head of my work here that we're going to be using today. You can learn esoteric interpretation. This is from page 288, the Philosophy Between the Lines book, The Lost History of Esoteric Writing by Arthur M. Meltzer. For those seeking to learn to read esoterically, the first thing that needs to be understood is that there is not and cannot be a science of esoteric reading. It is an art, and even a particularly delicate one. Therefore, it is also something not easily taught. Okay, can we work with that to start with here? What they've done is not that complicated, actually, and I think that there is a science to it, that we can make it so that it's easy for us to understand this. They play out in the psyche and everything is on analogs. There's a mental hierarchy. If we understand those parts, we can play them out in the mind, but that is where it becomes, people glaze over as soon as I start with that. It's taken me years of doing this to get there, to where I can see and read what they're doing. And there are people who look and go, okay, I see that, but it's not an easy thing. We have to see it for ourselves. If you can't see it for yourself, it's very mysterious. You can take somebody's word for it, but go, I don't know how you got there. So this is something that has to be done internally. It's a very personal, mental process. It's not magical. It is mental. Okay, let me wrap up what I'm doing in the introduction here, and we'll get underway. I see 3 locations in material that I have access to where I see a collection of Jesus verses. That is in Luke, and that is in Matthew, and that is in the Gospel of Thomas and the Nag Hammadi. That is, well, the Gospel of Thomas by itself, or the Sermon on the Plain, or the Sermon on the Mount. Of course, there's much more in the Bible, but as far as there being a body of work, sit down, here's the guru lesson, start to finish, that's where I find them. I've already done interpretations on the Gospel of Thomas and the Sermon on the Plain from the book of Luke. And I'll post a link below to the beginnings of those. It's a big process. Everybody needs to remember something. Take your media right now. Just imagine it's gone. Imagine you're in a remote place out in the desert and you live your life there with no access to anything except for what is in your environment. You got goats, sheep, and animals. And you got stories because there's no other technology. These would be very big. These stories are big. We give them a couple of minutes and think that they're true or not true. They're puzzles. They're big puzzles. We have to give them time. Okay. The largest collection I think that I'm happy with is actually what I'm going to go after here, the Sermon on the Mount. Now, the way I'm going to manage this, if you're familiar with the Tao Te Ching, it is a short group of verses, 80 some of them, 81, 82, that are really the path to enlightenment, but very hardcore. It's not a lifestyle. It's figure this out. This is your guru. The Dhammapada from the Buddha is the same thing. It's short collections of verses that lead us there. I'm going to be managing the Jesus section right there in the same way that I would interpret those. So I'll just say that up front. I'm going to handle it just as if I was trying to interpret those 2 right there for myself. The Gospel of Thomas has been fun, and it has been very telling. It has been a wonderful learning experience because I find in there things like the Pharisee is like the dog in the manger comes from Aesop's fables about maybe 500 or 600 years before the Gospel of Thomas, the dog in the manger. There are things in the Gospel of Thomas that come from other sources that you recognize it's a collection. It's not an original. Jesus didn't say this. Jesus may have said some of the things in there, but there's other stuff in there combined as well. Where when I look in the Bible, I see things in there that are just Jesus. And by that, I mean by sound. And you know what? You have to read a lot of stuff. There's styles. There's certain styles and certain verbiage that are used in certain ways that are very common. And when something else comes in, other elements that don't match, but you see where those come from elsewhere, you realize what's in the background is really that there's a core, something in the human psyche. Okay. Without further ado, let me just go ahead and get started on it. If this sounds very unfamiliar to you, it might be better to start with the other two videos where I do a lot more setup in the beginning. This is advanced. Let's jump in. Okay, for this video, I am using the new revised standard version, the updated edition. I do not recommend you go buy this for your own research. I've got it downloaded for my own reasons, and it's okay for this interpretation, but downstream interpretations are changing what is in here that is not good. So I don't recommend too many things downstream unless I've looked at it pretty close. The reason I say that is sometimes people try to clean up old verbiage, things that are repeated and sound cumbersome. I'm going to contend that those repeated and cumbersome things are there for a reason and that they're supposed to be there. And as people try to clean them up, that's disappearing. They're supposed to be repeated a certain amount of times and point to certain things. So I just want to say that. In fact, there's some numbering grid going on in the book here, in the entire book of Matthew, that I'm not going to cover in this. And but at the end of the video, I will. So if you're interested in that, I'll show you some grids that they're using in Abrahamic material. It's kind of bizarre. And I started with this one already. Yeah. For those seeking to learn to read esoterically, the first thing that needs to be understood is that there is not and cannot be a science of esoteric reading. I almost disagree. What I want to say is I've done this before where you could, let's say I have a process. We already know this. Something has happened in my past. I don't have it resolved. I'm angry, hurt, shame, something. There's something issue. We know that cycles around us. What do? I tell people in my community, if you don't want to feel hurt, you have to forgive the people that have done the things to you that you don't like, or you have to somehow figure out how to resolve the stuff you've done until you don't feel that way anymore. You got to make amends. You need to do something to rectify that. People don't want to do that, especially the ones that are victims. I got raped. They did this to me. They did that to me. I am not giving, no, I hate them. What we don't know is that hate continues to hurt. We're not letting go of something that, it was horrific, yeah, but you know what? It's over and done. We can't keep living with it. So instead, since that won't get passed around in the population, I create something like a saying that is like an anchored ship can only sail around its anchor or cannot sail or something like that. And that is an encoded process that is mechanical. I have taken two things and made them analogous to what my situation is. I'm mentally grasping onto something. There's an anchor. I am going around in circles around it. The ship is sailing around it. I've made an analogous representation of exactly what the issue is if somebody knows how to read that, and that is very mechanical. The artistic part comes in when there's multi-layering, there's sliced up over time, and the analogs go from place to place. Interpretation becomes interesting. People can look at that and say, that's a true statement. You don't interpret it. That's what an anchor's for, so your ship doesn't float off. That's not interpreting at all. That's just treating it at face value. Somebody that's interpreting it might say, oh, I get it. It's an analog. It does represent me. I'm the ship and I am hanging on to something. However, what I'm hanging on to is old relationships, old beliefs, old girlfriend, boyfriend, job, somehow something that I'm not letting go of, something that I need to let go of to move on in life. And you know what? That works perfect. Yeah, go with that. But it's still about the physical world. Somebody can take that same thing and say, I was born and my parents didn't want me. I was unwanted. I was raised in an orphanage and abused and hurt so much. You cannot even believe it. I had nobody. But one day I found something. I found Jesus. I found a community. I found something somewhere. And now that I'm hanging on to it, I'm not floating free, wild in the world. Now I'm safe in port. And you'd go, wow. That sounds good too, even though they're both exactly opposite each other. Neither one of them is getting to the core. It is about me, myself, me mentally holding on to something, and it is happening in my life. It's very personal. That's how we have to treat them. But you see, that's actually a mechanical process. I think the trick is in understanding what is conceptually nested into it. For example, from the Buddha, there's this idea, first verse, that if a person has had an evil thought, that pain follows them like the wheel follows the hoof of the ox that draws the wagon or the cart. And if I were to look at that, what that would tell me is that the evil thought is something that I've got stored up here. It doesn't mean in the physical world, it's in the spiritual world. It's nested at a deeper layer. So I'm going to interpret it in my mind. That is something that I'm holding on to. Even if it's, I hate you because you did this to me, it's hurting me. So it's going to be called an evil thought. That evil term is analogous. It doesn't mean that I was evil. It means that what is happening is evil. It is hurtful. I'm not in control of it even. I'm still not. It happened long ago. I'm not in control of it. It's in me. Okay. However, because that has happened, pain follows like the wheel cycling around, follows the hoof of the ox that draws the carriage. I become a representation of that. I'm like the ship. I am the ox drawing the carriage through life, and pain follows cyclically behind me. There it is. That's a conceptual thing. Yet it's mechanical, isn't it? It's the analogs. What are they doing? You have to work it out in your mind. I don't recall where this is. Psalms, maybe someplace. You can cut down the tree, but it grows back. Chopping down the tree doesn't work, but the axe reaches down and pulls out the root, and then it ceases to grow again. That's the same teaching conceptually. What is the root is the original offense, the sin, and it's growing up and returning continually. It's cycling because even though I do something to rectify it or it goes away, it comes back again. So there's a cyclical return of something until it is pulled out by the root. In the same way where the evil thought must be changed so that the cycle ceases, in this case, the root has to be pulled out for the cycle to cease. That's how they're read. That's mechanical. That goes all the way down to something like there's a man and a woman who have two offspring, Cain and Abel from Adam and Eve, right? Okay, so that represents, this is a hierarchy. This represents Adam is our conscious self, Eve is our inner self, and Cain and Abel represent the characteristics or qualities that we have become in life. One good, one bad, and at first the bad takes over. We've got something going on there. So there's something being nested in a couple of layers there. And okay, so that's how they're going to work. That's something that I think you learn to do on your own, but I still think it's a mechanical process. And let me be clear, if you picked up books on Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, Christianity, Greek myth, you will find that same process there. Sometimes in big stories, sometimes in short cryptic verse. But all of it points to a path of inner healing. But that's why it's mechanical. There's a framework of existence, how we come about, how we exist, how we go through life, how we turn inward and heal, and how we begin to manage the things that we have inside of us that is hurting us. That is always going to be consistent, and that is what the pattern in the background is. Okay, so what shifts is the analogs. You're still going to have to destroy something. You have to get rid of your earlier self. So you're going to have to flood out the world, destroy the city, go get your field back, go get you're in charge of something somewhere. You're trying to get that back, your vineyards or anything like that. The stories are always going to be like having an element like that in there where you must go get something. You're looking for something, the beginning of time, the golden fleece. There's a goal in there. You know what? I got to stop talking and just get into this. I think it'll unfold. Let's just get into the interpretation and what I got going on. Here we go. The Sermon on the Mount, like Buddha would teach us. Okay, I think this will take a few videos to get all this accomplished. The Sermon on the Mount is big. All right, here's what I've got going on. I'm going to start right here where it is in the blue. This work is done using color-coded text for easy searching. The Bible words are all in black, except for the Jesus teachings, which are in red. The green letters are my plain language interpretation of the verses. So you'll see a shift from red to a green version. All of the blue text has been added by the translator or by me, the interpreter. Lavender is where I posted the previous verse a second time to get it next to my interpretation, just for easy comparison. Okay, and I just said that again down here. Okay, the goal of interpretation is a pathway to inner peace, the kingdom of heaven. The verses will interpret if we keep that in mind. Each verse is about me or you. It is for anyone who finds the mystery of the verses. When they interpret from here, they will either be about the psyche of the one interpreting or our quality of life within our own life experience. It is the seeker's path, or sometimes referred to as the warrior's path. I prefer to use the term seeker's path as a descriptive term for the path to inner peace, also known as kingdom of heaven within, nirvana, and others. Yeah, they all have a goal, which represents this mental purity, peace, inner, I'm okay, I'm not all wrapped up in my past and my thoughts. It is the path to enlightenment, no matter what we call it. All of those terms are analogous to the destination of the path. It is located within what we would call inner peace. It is a state of being that is free of life's bondages. As we interpret, all verses will point to steps for us to accomplish and experience this. They are cryptic verses holding an inner message. It is this message we seek. I will treat this material as if it were my guru in the same manner I would treat Buddha's verses. These are simply nested in a different style of carrying case, arc, or better yet, a verbal puzzle holding an interactive personal life lesson. Anyone wishing to follow this path must make it their own. It goes through our life experiences. I've got some cross-referencing of other material in here. From the Tao Te Ching, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. What that means is when we interpret this verse, we understand that the Tao is the pathway to inner peace. It's our method, as well as how we came about in life. It cannot be told means that anyone following a teacher is not following the true path. A true teacher can only point the way. The way is inward to our own memories. It is a path one can only gather knowledge for and take for themselves. Who has access to your mind but you? I am going to treat this material in the same manner. It will be steps for me to take for inner healing. The Abrahamic teaching material functions using a 4-part mental hierarchy as well as another included component, the quality of our physical life experience, which is a result of our 4 mental parts. There are a total of 5 parts. The cryptic teaching is framed around that. What we hold in our minds is what manifests our life experiences. So the 5 are this. Number 1, our higher awareness. This part of our mind is detached from the emotions. We need to find it. It is what is referred to in the material at various times as Father, God, Lord, and more. Yeah, let me talk about that just for a second here. I've mentioned it before, but if you haven't watched the videos before, there's a part of our consciousness where we stand outside of ourselves and look and go, you know what to do. But there's a conscious part of us that is experiencing the fear that is giving in, going, I don't want to do it. But that part outside of us that we don't give much attention to, or the part that when you're waking up at 3 or 4 in the morning, tossing and turning and fit, and there's another part of you once in a while that steps outside of that turmoil, you can hear that voice come in once in a while and goes, you got to let it go. There's nothing you can do. You need to sleep and relax and chill. But then the pain takes over and you're right back frazzled again. That part right there, that's where we need to get our attention to. That is the higher awareness right there. You will notice when that comes into play, it's up here, and that it is not detached. It is detached from the emotional feelings of our life experiences. Eckhart Tolle has a story where he, reached enlightenment, where he was like, I don't remember it exactly, but he's like, he had this internal dialogue and he's like, who is it that's doing the asking? You realize that there's multiple parts of you and that we're living through the bundle of memories as opposed to allowing the higher self to, but we got stuff wrapped up. I'll continue on. So that's the higher awareness. Then we've got our conscious awareness. This is our called self when we are on the path, but it is where we must understand and work from. Yeah, everything we're doing is going to be from our conscious awareness. The consciousness decides the quality of what we have experienced. We judge our life experiences and we begin to live through those experiences. They continue to affect us as they cycle in our life. This is normal, but now we wish to leave the hurt behind. So yeah, we can live from new things coming in. We can live through old stuff coming out. Our conscious is like the interface to life experience, isn't it? That's where everything happens. But that's where we have to use our awareness to make some changes. Number 3 is the inner self, the subconscious. These are our core memories as well as the emotional charge of how we live through them, plus all of our basic characteristics that we were born with. There's things that we have no control over. It's in our DNA. All that stuff is part of our inner being. Number 4 is what is contained in the inner self, the stored memories. Yeah, that's different. Are they good or bad? These we put in. Probably both. We're looking to understand what is happening to us and why life doesn't align with our desires when we want it to. We seek to heal. So those are the 4 mental parts. Then we have a 5 down here. Then the resultant flow of life as a result of the quality of number of the 4 above. We live life fitting where we are due to the memories we're holding. This is important to note. When we are healing deep and a lot, we will end up not fitting where we first started out. Be aware of that. Birds of a feather flock together. When we change our feathers, we must change our flock. Yeah, if you're changing big enough, you're not going to stay where you are. So keep that in mind. There's some cautions in here. So then these 5 are what we're looking, what we will be working with to interpret. This is how the material is structured with these in place. Higher awareness, consciousness, subconscious, memories, and the resultant flow in life. Now that 5 emerges in other places as well. I've got to compare to the Babylonian creation epic, the Enuma Elish from Tablet 1 of the 7 Tablets of Creation, dated from approximately 5,000 years ago. During the creation of the called hero, Marduk, and I quote, dressed in a shining robe fit for 10 gods, rising beyond him, there were 5 almighty beams which surmounted his head. Okay, the 5 beams represent that mental hierarchy. In the Gospel of Thomas, the Nag Hammadi collection, approximately 2,000 years ago, verse 19, this is just a part of it. For there are 5 trees in paradise for you. They do not change summer or winter, and their leaves do not fall. Whoever knows them will not taste death. Okay, if there are 5 trees in paradise, that's a good place. That's a good mental space right there, the 5, the hierarchy. When they're all aligned, everything is fine. Okay, so every single verse will be handled in this one specific way. The terms they are using are analogous for these 5 component parts of human life. Thus, I call them all analogs. They are all made in that manner. For example, if I'm instructed to wash the inside of my cup because the one who made the outside also made the inside, I am the cup. I must clean out what is inside of me. I inadvertently put it there. This means memories and their emotional charge. Healing or resolving aught against one's brother. All of those are about this level of memory. It is where the seed was planted and it now grows repeatedly. We cannot rid the memory. We must change the emotional charge of the memory. That is the crux of the process and is easy to work with, despite the emotional discomfort of doing so. It requires forgiveness at the level of each person's emotional attachment to the memory. What we can recall from the depths of our minds that we feel bad about is what we need to clean up. That's why it's called the warrior's path. But today in the West, people may leave a yoga class and claim they're on a warrior's path. People like the idea of being a warrior, so they tough it out and live with the hurt. People like the idea of being a warrior. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, they're not really doing this. They're just calling themselves a warrior because there's a poster on the wall with somebody posing a certain way. The true warrior faces the hurt and finds a way to leave it along the road. I guess all terms are okay. We just know it means something at the deepest level of human consciousness, to the recesses of our deepest fears. Shame would likely be the biggest for most people. Those are hard to overcome. Metaphors are great to contain teachings. Here's a fun one. We're going to make friends with the skeletons in our closet. Then they won't act out anymore. Okay, we'll get into some things. There's some things structurally that make me comfortable right off the bat as I'm reading this. First of all, Matthew 5 through 7 is the Sermon on the Mount, and it contains a number of sections in here. The first is called the Beatitudes. There are 9 total Beatitudes, and those are the ones that start out with, blessed are, for theirs. Down here we've got the first one, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. That's a Beatitude. I recognize it as an if-then statement. It's a common verse style in all of antiquity. It's a visible structure and typically comes in blocks like this. Yeah, it does. We'll see it in Buddha's dual verses right off the bat or something like that. It's actually in Luke, except that in Luke it has a variation where this says, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. It has a duality, which would be something like, woe to the rich in spirit, for theirs is, the kingdom of hell, or something like that, where we've got a duality going on. The duality isn't here, but the if-then is. You could say, if you are poor in spirit, then you live in the kingdom of heaven. You see how that verbally works out the same way. So in my head, I look at that and I see it as a structural thing. Okay, number 5 is where it starts, and this is almost the only part that Jesus doesn't speak. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him, and he began to speak and taught them, saying, what he's doing is teaching from an elevated place above the others. Does this represent something? It's a common motif in many cultures, trekking up the mountain or across the plain to seek your version of religion or a guru. Yeah, you're going to Mecca or something somewhere. In this case, you're seeking out a guru, so he's on top of a mountain. Well, it's not that important. Let's go on to the first lesson. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Okay, this first step outlines our goal with the teaching. We want to achieve the kingdom of heaven by becoming poor in spirit. That's it. That's our goal right there. That's like finding the golden fleece or getting back to the beginning. The spirit of heaven with the kingdom of heaven within. We need to identify what poor, spirit, and kingdom of heaven are as analogs. These are analogs for us. First, poor is devoid of. Kingdom of heaven is a way of experiencing life emotionally. It is the Abrahamic version of what we would know as nirvana. It is a peaceful mind state of being, and we live feeling good. We started there as children before judging our life experiences. Now we seek to find that type of inner happiness again, only this time we have life experiences we need to work with. Spirit will be the subconscious mind or the entire memory bundle we live life through. In order to make a spirit full or empty, what do we have as options for us? If your spirit or soul is damaged, how do we heal it? Memories and their individual emotional states are what we live or rather experience life through. They are how we experience the feeling of life. We become happy in the mind and body. We work with the mind. Spirit, therefore, will be your memories that we live through. This will reveal the teaching is interactive. We become full in spirit by maintaining many judgments about our life experiences and our beliefs. Those begin to be hurtful to our overall quality of life, not just in a moment, but averaged out. How is your life overall? Yeah, we could be happy and joyful in a moment, but are you generally that way or generally not? We can compare this with Luke's version, blessed are the poor, for theirs is the kingdom of God. It lacks the term spirit, but we know what to do with cryptic verses anyway. These are all mentally interactive. It doesn't have to say spirit. If you treat it as if it is a spiritual verse, you will get the lesson. You don't have to be told that it is. You try it anyway. Not everything tells you it's cryptic. Not everything tells you to figure it out. If you understand Buddhism, this will align for you. It shows how different words can easily carry a single concept. Watch this. Okay, yet Buddha tells us one must become empty to achieve nirvana. Inner mental peace by letting go. We seek emptiness. Jesus, one with an empty spirit, lives in God's kingdom. Become empty, empty spirit. Achieve nirvana, lives in God's kingdom. Inner mental peace by letting go. We seek emptiness. They're teaching the same thing in different verbiage. So down here, I have the lavender one. That's just a repeat of the one up above. And my translation or my interpretation of it would be, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those devoid of judgments. They will achieve inner peace. Okay. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Okay, mourning is the analog we need to understand here. Remember, the goal is inner peace, so interpretation has to point there. Then, remember what is in the way of inner peace, which are unresolved judgments about our life experiences. So then what do we need to do to resolve those issues? We mourn them, but that means we change them. Mourning is how we get past a loss to become comforted. The loss we seek here are the issues we hide, deny, and just cause us to not feel good, the things we grasp onto mentally, especially the stuff we try to hide and deny. We don't like to face the past hurt, and so we continue to try to push it way back, but it gets bigger and emerges stronger each time. We don't have control over it, and our inner peace is lost. Mourning is an analogous term for looking at it, healing from the hurt, bringing it into the light. It grows stronger as we hate it and fight it. Imagine someone who got hurt as a child. Imagine it as you. Remember when something happened that caused you confusion, then shame, then hatred, and it grows in our garden, and we feed it more shame and anger. We are making it and maintaining it without being aware of that. This is why we do not feel inner peace. Right here in the first verse, it's telling us that the path is about. It's always a mental if we're turning to our memories. This is implied and self-evident. This is telling us our unresolved memories of the judgments we hold are keeping us from inner peace, and that resolving those is what we need to do. The more you mourn, the greater the comfort. We carry a lot of stuff. I changed it from blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted, to blessed are those who resolve their stored judgments. They will feel inner peace. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Okay, meek means being and feeling gentle. However, it can sound like weakness if not interpreted. It interprets like turning the other cheek. The earth is each of us, however, and the experience we have accumulated. It is that accumulation of judged memory which will always be the problem. In Genesis, the flood wipes out the earth to start anew. This is analogous to a rebirth. The earth has been cleansed, or we have let go of something that was hurting us. This is about each of us being meek or gentle or forgiving of our inner experiences. In the physical realm, you may need to defend yourself. Therefore, this verse falls short of being meaningful at face value. The terms must be recognized as analogs that are carrying that mental meaning that is to take us to inner peace. We hate what has happened, and so we hate parts of ourselves, and so we live a life blindly compliant with the nature of those creations. We know they are there. Just remember them and feel them. That's how they guide our life when they add their nature to the mix. A little hatred, a lot of shame. Yeah, we need to deal with those things. But we hate them, and we make them stronger by hating them. What do we have to do? We have to stop hating them. We have to be meek. So blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth, is changed to blessed is the one who won't fight themselves. They will find inner peace. You have to accept what's happened. You can't continue to deny it. Next, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Okay, the analogs to define here are hunger, thirst, and righteousness. Filled presumes we have achieved what we're looking for. Spiritual hunger and thirst, desire to consume or learn righteousness. But what is righteousness? We'd have to check the Genesis analog form. I don't want to do that. This gets too big. It's so huge. This maintains the background numbering grid established in Genesis. Righteousness ties to day 7 and 3 and the place in creation. You follow my work? Okay. So I downloaded a copy of the King James Version of the Bible and did my word searching in there. And so if you remember the previous videos, the 3, 7, that numbering grid system that begins right there. And then right in the Sodom story in Genesis, we have Abraham asking God about the destruction. And he asks him, suppose there are so many righteous. Suppose there are so many righteous, 50, 40, 30. It goes on like that. But it's like this kludge of repeating something that sounds very weird. And if you look at it closely, you'll see that righteous is said 7 times right there. And it's Abraham asking. Now, if you go to Matthew right here and word search, you will find that Abraham appears exactly 7 times in the text, as well as does righteousness. 7 times exactly. So right here, they're maintaining that grid. If that's confusing to you, it's big. It's big. Okay, let's get back to this then. What does it say here? It is Abraham who questions God, and in the course of a short dialogue, righteous is said 7 times. Yep, just talked about that. Okay, righteous just became an analog for the same pure place then. That's the 3, 7 time. We're looking for enlightenment. That's it. That's what righteousness means. We want to be free of all of that. That is what we are seeking when we're looking for righteousness. We're looking to be free of our bonds based in the judged memories that we inadvertently maintain. The book of Matthew repeats the word righteousness and Abram both 7 times in the whole gospel. This word repeating system is prevalent in all the books of the Bible. It is an Abrahamic process. It seems to verify the material for me, but also we need to understand this was mostly told by word of mouth when it was written. Few could read or write, but each story that is Jewish seems to link this number pattern that starts with 7 and 3 times on day 7 of the first creation story in Genesis. Yeah, anyway, okay. We're looking for the pure place. So I changed it from blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled, to blessed are those who desire inner peace. You will find it. You got to desire it. I mean, you got to go after it. Hunger and thirst, yeah, that doesn't mean just casual. You want it with a passion. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Okay, what is mercy here? We need to apply it to our goal of seeking inner peace. Our issues are as big as we have created them. We are judging ourselves by judging the hurt that we carry. The more we hate or feel shame or whatever, it's all emotion-based, the bigger our issues are. We hold them in contempt and unknowingly are creating that as a part of our inner self. We are doing it with mind power and the way we view it emotionally. We have to understand what we're doing. The memories are not merciful to us, are they? These are the cycles of pain we need to interrupt. They hurt us and we hate them more and more, and they grow bigger and bigger without attention and in a manner that we give them attention. And they grow bigger and bigger without resolving them and in the manner that we give them attention. Yeah, I'll reword that one. We feed them or not, but we can also weed them. That's what this material is for, weeding the garden and planting a new crop. Changing the charge of the memories and living a life free from them. We must change the way we view the memory. Again, forgiveness fits here. Resolving one's ought is the goal, but this tells us to be gentle and detached from what we are looking at. When we do this, even though it's not instantaneous, the fear with which those memories exist will diminish in kind with the level of change we can manage. They are products of our thinking, and they always will be. We take charge of their polarity and strength. That's frequency and amplitude, truly. That's from an energy base. We would know these in daily life. We would call them something different. We would call it the emotional state and how strong we feel about it. That's the frequency and the amplitude. The amplitude is how powerful. Frequency is how does it feel. All right, I changed that from blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy, to blessed are those who stop hating their memories. That will ease them. Okay, blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. We've got two analogs to identify, pure in heart and God. God is the higher awareness. From here, we are not mentally or emotionally attached to the physical. We use this aspect of ourselves in concert with our consciousness, which is too fearful on its own to heal the memories that our consciousness created while experiencing life on its own accord. That sounds confusing. We've judged life and put things away. We're afraid of them. Now we have to deal with them. How do we do that? We need to employ something besides our conscious fear that is experiencing fear. The higher being is what we bring into play. That's what I'm getting at there. That's how we come about. God is our higher awareness in the mental hierarchy. Heart cannot be heart. Just like soul cannot mean literal soul, we cannot interact mentally or emotionally with a heart or soul. These represent what we have become through thought and experience. Pure in heart would sound like pure in spirit then. They both mean the same thing at the mental level. Our general feeling, which seems like it's overall, is something that gives us a heavy heart or similar analogous verbiage. We don't feel good physically, but this feeling is based in the physical reaction to maintaining inner mental turmoil. We can view this. Think of something in your past that is big and hurtful and not resolved. You feel shame or some other emotions from it. While it's active in your mind, you will experience a physiological reaction to it. Maybe only a slightly elevated heart rate at first, but if you imagine telling someone something you don't ever want anyone to know, you will feel fear, perhaps even sweaty palms. You will actually be activating something we have built in for fear, fight or flight response. It is how humans are wired to experience fear. All animals do. It is a normal process based on successful evolution. Except we don't need it engaged here. But it's all we have, so the fear of facing memory can be quite intense. I'm off track here with the verse, but not the overall teaching. So I've changed that from blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are those devoid of inner hurt. You will live through higher awareness. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God. All right, this peacemaker has to fit in the hierarchy. Think this through. God is the higher awareness. Children of God is the consciousness when we're ready to engage with our past memories using our higher awareness. And peacemaking is healing. We need to make peace with the enemies within, which are actually the memories we try to hide away because they don't feel okay. The consciousness on its own won't overcome the fear. It caves in. Yeah, we give it. It doesn't feel good. The consciousness is where we feel everything. It feels fear, but the higher self needs to be understood and engaged while we're facing our past. We need to make peace with it. We must keep going through our fear in order to succeed. We use our higher self. We have to learn how to do that. Okay, I've changed that from blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God, to blessed are they who make peace with their past. They will live with inner peace. Next we have, blessed are those who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. All right, we've got three analogs to identify here: persecuted, righteousness, and kingdom of heaven. We know righteousness from above. That's enlightenment. And let's see, but highly used Genesis network analog form, it means pure state of being. Okay. Kingdom of heaven is the flow in life. Heaven or hell is here now. Which path are you on? Think of it as one's general quality of life from an emotional experience. How we feel and where we are in life as a result. Our flow, or Tao, to reference Taoism. So we have those last two established fairly firm. Righteousness is enlightenment, and kingdom of heaven is having a good flow of life experience. Or experiences. Just good life. So then, what do we need to persecute? We're looking at our past through the halls of memories. The ones that are monsters and creatures are the issues. This is what we persecute. It sounds like we're having a trial, but if we pull it all the way to the mentally interactive understanding, we know we have to face what hurts us in order to heal from it. Persecuting is an analog for resolving, which is healing, which is viewing the memory in different ways in order to rid its emotional charge. We know we are done when we can recall it without emotional attachment to him anymore. The coup de grace for knowing if you're healed is being able to talk about it without anything more than a clinical view. We are humans on earth and come from, that's where we come from. The only ones who rise above are the ones who can let go of what is below. If we aren't able to talk freely about it in a proper setting, of course, then it isn't resolved. It's a simple test, but only you can grade it for yourself. You see, it really is a personal path. I've changed that to, blessed are those who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. To, blessed are those who resolve what is in the way of their inner peace, for they will live well. Okay, this is the last one, the last beatitude. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you, and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. I'm going to skip this whole first chunk right here. It just goes on to talk about how I see this being used in the physical realm sometimes by people saying, you know, you guys are persecuting us, so it seems like a way to help someone maintain martyrdom. Anyway, I'm going to skip that and just go into what the interpretation is, not what people take it as. This is how it's supposed to be. Often these cryptic verses have the lesson at the end, so I find working them backwards can be helpful. We know the great reward in heaven is benefit to or enhancement of our life experience. Are the prophets being persecuted, holding a place in our mental hierarchy? I'm not sure. I can't quite play it out. Maybe, maybe not. It doesn't affect, it's not positive or beneficial necessarily. When we read Jesus' ministry, we come to realize, though, it is a monomyth story framed on a common template. Matthew, Mark, and Luke are variations, old variations of that. There's nothing like that in the Gospel of, or in the Nag Hammadi. The template of a human life cycle for inner healing, or how to achieve inner enlightenment, is what that template is based on. That's the framework. This is what happens when we interpret the material and place it in our psyche while maintaining mental processes, knowing our stored mental processes are what actually guide us in life and a shared energy collective. That's how we all fit together. Our flow in life, Tao, graces. This just means the overall emotional quality of your life. That is how we experience life. Emotionally, from a mass of accumulated, unresolved experiences joining with the present moment. We continue to experience new life through the memories we don't deal with. The prophets exist in the stories. These each are another variation of monomyth and nest the same template. It occurs over and over in the Bible, and Jesus' work too. But on the template, they are representative of our inner qualities that we were born with or need to have on our inward healing trek. Each has its own purpose in signaling balance, minding the fields and planting new crops, and other similar layering techniques which themselves seem to be analogs for mental processes. Watch this analog shifting while I repeatedly say the same thing. 1. We want to weed our gardens and produce better crops. 2. We want to rid our excess baggage to travel easier. 3. We need to befriend our skeletons so they stop acting out. 4. We need to defeat our demons so we are no longer possessed by them. And now if I was just to, in plain language and non-analogous verbiage, say that, it would be, we want to forgive our hurt so that we live better. Yeah, it stops acting out. It just goes away. Okay, so the prophets were persecuted, which means our initial joy, openness, non-attached, and non-judged self had their quality covered over by judgments. If we were to look at Genesis, there's a point before the flood where the beautiful daughters of men were gone into by the sons of God and defiled. And that's what we're seeing a replication of here. Prophets have been persecuted. Daughters have been violated. They're both holding the idea that our early qualities of joy, openness, non-attachment, they're lost. We want to get those back. They're not lost. They're actually covered over by judgments. They're still there. We need to recover them. The people who revile and persecute us are in our memories. They represent our emotionally charged memories that act out in a derogatory manner to our life. Of course, it affects those around us too. When it emerges, it uses emotion and takes over control of our consciousness while it is active. That is what is persecuting us. It did involve other people or things in our stored perceptions. We are using it in our electrochemical brains, and that is how we tune ourselves unknowingly to the collective field. This is how our flow in life works. It is based on the emotional quality of stored memories. As within, so without. But there is a fine-tuned point to look at. Observe the memory and how it feels. That tells you if it's a problem residing in you and is one of the many little rudders charting our course in life. Yeah, imagine trying to go straight across a bay or something like that, and you got a bunch of rudders steering you all over the place, and you're whining all over the place. Imagine that those are all a bunch of unresolved issues, and you're trying to go in a straight line, but you're getting pulled off all the time. If you resolve all of those emotional things, it gets rid of all those little rudders, metaphorically, that are taking you off course. We get rid of all that little stuff and get down to one thing that's important. Let's use our physical senses to compare. How loud is that sound? Let me back up a little bit. Stored memories and their emotional charge and how strong that charge is. It is indeed energy-based, and we can see it as amplitude and frequency to help us understand it better. Let's use our physical senses to compare. How loud is that sound? How bright is that light? How pungent is that aroma? How hot is that burn? How intense is that hurt? Shame, hatred, fear are all the frequency. That is what we align with. How intense we feel it is how bad we are affected by it. I see a potentially important part with the prophets, and this serves as a great outer layer of teaching that we can view. If it's talking about the actual prophets from antiquity, then what I see is an implication here that we're all the same. The prophets were not sent by God, but are people like we are. If you learn what a monomyth is, you will see those are structured monomyths. They're not people sent here by God. They're the next called person on an adventure. We're going through a process of inner healing that they went through. And as I said above, it's difficult and time-consuming to see it and to learn. But the prophets are all of the called ones starting a new monomyth. The monomyth is a self-healing series of steps anyone would take if seeking inner peace, who understands what to do and has the courage to do it. The monomyth is what we want to take. That turns inward and goes in and defeats our demons and emerges all happy at the other side. On my account in this verse is our seeking portion of our consciousness. We are going to work at healing. We will not be okay. It will not be okay to experience. Yeah, when we're healing, it's not going to feel okay. We're going to turn to face the very things we have always wanted to hide away. That will be hard to do because of emotion, and our inner memories will make us feel very hurt while we are facing them to heal from them. All right, I'll try to end this one up. So I've changed it from, blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For in the same way, they persecuted the prophets who were before you. I want that to be personally interactive to me. So I get done with it, and it sounds like this. Blessed are you when our inner hurt is being woken up by our desire to heal. It hurts, feels bad, and tries to hide and persecutes us. It hurts to heal because we must face the hurt. But when we do face it, it goes away. Rejoice in the process. The healing will bring you to more inner peace. This is how it works for everyone. Okay, what I've done next is consolidated all of those by themselves. What I want to do is read through the Beatitudes, my interpretation of them. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what that sounds like. I'll just read them through start to finish. I've labeled it as The Path to Inner Peace, interpretation by Daniel Luke Paulson, the Beatitudes. Blessed are you who are devoid of judgments. You will achieve inner peace. Blessed are you who release your stored judgments. You will find inner peace. Blessed are you when you won't fight yourself. You will find inner peace. Blessed are you who desire inner peace with heartfelt passion. You will find it. Blessed are you who stop hating your memories. That will ease them. Blessed are you who are devoid of inner hurt. You will live through your higher awareness. Blessed are you who make peace with your past. You will live with inner peace. Blessed are you who resolve what is in the way of your inner peace, for you will live joyous. Blessed are you when your inner hurt is awakened by our desire to heal, and so we face it openly. It hurts, feels bad, tries to hide, causes us to lash out, and so it persecutes us. It hurts to heal because we must face the hurt. But when we do face it, it goes away. Rejoice in the process. The healing will bring you to more inner peace. This is how it works for everyone. That's what I come to. You see how that works? If anybody's interested, I'm pretty well done doing that interpretation. That's how I see it. And it seems to me like, as much as I talk through it like that, it somehow seems to fit somehow in my head or in a life process. It does make it mechanical. It's more like learning a language. It's learning how to read conceptually as you're reading something. That's it. Learning to read metaphor and unraveling it, knowing that it always fits in the psyche on a self-healing process. That's what makes it very fixed and mechanical. The variation comes in, whoever wrote it, they're deciding their own analogs. I'm going to use a ship. I'm going to use a cart. I'm going to use, something else. We can just make them up on our own by doing that same process. So that's a very mechanical process, actually. The artistry is in determining what they're doing with how they're using the analogs, but maintaining them in the mental hierarchy. All of that, really, it is mechanical. But it's kind of hard to figure that, actually. There's a part of it that certainly is artistry. To understand, for example, that a wheel coming around and around like pain following is a cycle of pain. knowing that plagues happening over and over again are cycles of pain, knowing that harpies coming down and defiling your food every day is a cycle of pain, knowing that a tree growing up and then getting cut down but growing up again until it's pulled out by the root is a cycle of pain, knowing that giving pain in childbirth now after first sin represents the idea that your inner being is carrying a hurt now that it's experienced life, and that this is going to continue to cycle out. So having pain continuously in cycle birth is a cycle of pain. You have to read them somehow. They emerge as conceptual ideas, and you can look at all of them and see that they are the same. But that's not easy at first. You have to kind of work at it on your own to get there. Before finishing up, let's have some more decoding fun. Look at this. This is from Genesis. This is what I was talking about earlier about the numbering system that they're using. We started out with remember the 7 and 3 and the second, right here on the end of the first creation story. On the seventh day, God finished the work that he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all the work that he had done. So God blessed the seventh day and hallowed it. That should sound cumbersome. The seventh day 3 times. 7 and 3. That's where it starts right there. This is parallel to, what is this? 5 rivers. Where does a 5 come from? Yeah. So both of these parallel to each other, start naked, unashamed in the Garden of Eden. So this is a place we want to get back to. Now, what do we do? So 3 and 7 becomes that same place. They become analogs for that same location. Now, let's go take a look at Sodom again. Okay, what I'm going to do is jump down to chapter 18, where the judgment is pronounced on Sodom. That's what's happening right here. And just as they're getting ready for this to happen, so the men turned from there and went towards Sodom, while Abraham remained standing before the Lord. So this conversation begins. Then Abraham came near the Lord and said, "Will you indeed sweep away the righteous with the wicked?" What I'm going to do here is not read the whole thing. What I'm going to do is just find all the righteous. There's 1, 2. Good enough. Okay, what do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Righteous is repeated 7 times. And there's some other numbers going on right there. But that right there, that cumbersome sounding, there are 50 righteous within the city. No, I will not for 50. Yes, I will. No, I won't. Sounds like a Dr. Seuss thing right here. Sort of. Anyway, 7 times. Yep, that's it. So righteous becomes 7. Now, what happens if we go look at... Actually, what I'm going to do at this point is jump back to Matthew. What I want to say is established up front, and it gets so thick. I'm sorry it takes so long. Previous work has this analog farm, and that's what that whole Sodom thing is, and the numbers are there. They're creating analogs in that area right there. And it takes a lot of analysis to find that, but the fact that the numbers are repeating is how they're passing along the code, and this is verbal. That's the only way it comes around. You hear it. The code is in the story itself, and it's held in repeating names and numbers and sequences. Abrahamic material uses it prevalently. What I'm going to do now is go to the book of Matthew, downloaded from, this is the King James Version, so it goes as close upstream as I can to the original. And let's see what we come up with here. This is fun. Okay, watch. I'm going to search for Abraham just because I know to. I'm used to doing this now. And it shows up exactly 7 times. Now watch this. Righteous. Righteousness. 7 times. Righteous by itself 12 times, which is another analog. So let's take a look at what we have going on here. So I'll just take a look at these 2 highlighted ones right here. 7 times within Matthew. Righteousness is said 7 times. Abraham is said 7 times. 12 times 7 is said. Righteous is said. 3 is said. Third. Do you see the linking up right there? These are not accidents because it continually happens throughout the entire Bible. It's not just the 3s and 7s. We see that. 3,000. How come there's so many 3s and 7s? You have no idea how many times words are repeating in there that are even more than that. They had it memorized. I can only see this because, I mean, there's a point you speculate, you start digging, you start finding stuff, and the more you dig, the more you find. That's what it is. And you realize that, yeah, we don't have a good handle on it because we don't have them memorized. There is a lot there. There's a numbering coding network that is keeping that template going in the background while obscuring it. It keeps it hidden. It's magical. Okay, in retrospect, that sounded confusing to me as I get back here. So in Genesis, we have this idea that 3 and 7 are developed right up front. And then through Genesis, there's more analog farms where righteous is said 7 times. 12, the tribes are already established. There's numbering system that is going in place. 40 is being established. Okay, all of those numbers that appear up front are going to continue to repeat. How long were the Israelites in the desert? 40 years. How long was Jesus in the desert? 40 days. These 40s continue to emerge, and they are doing something conceptually that is always the same. Now we get down here to Matthew, and what do we see? That Abraham is said exactly 7 times, and that righteousness is said exactly 7 times. And in Genesis, it was Abraham who was talking to God, where righteousness was established as the analog. They continue to link up. So all throughout the books of the Bible, they're maintaining those numbers, and they're maintaining them as analogs that are always meaning the same thing. You can recognize it as Abrahamic material by finding that stuff in there. If this is traveling around word of mouth, there's a code. There's something in there. I hope you can see it. There is something in there. But the pathway is inward. You see the interpretation. Okay, next one. I'll start on right into the salt and light. It'll actually go much faster. So I hope the video was fun and interesting. And if you have any comments, feel free to post them below. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care.